But first, Cam, I think you wanted to talk about some software. Some
I
software that is going to give Adobe a run for their money and is free.
well, do you know what, Mark? It's the beginning of a new year, and let's, people, what I've been doing, as I was saying, I've been, one of the websites that I have is being completely revamped at the moment. I'm spending some money on some marketing, putting some budget aside and all of that, doing those things. But I'm also been looking to see where I could cut costs as well. General stuff.
Mm.
I found a couple of things that I pay sort of monthly for that I don't really use so much. So I've cut those down, and it makes sense for me, rather than paying a yearly fee, is to pay a monthly fee and just use it, dip in and out when I want to. So it's about saving money. And here is a program that's been around for quite a while, and it's not the only one either. There have been some other photo editing programs, which is completely free. Okay.
Okay.
And it's really I wouldn't say it's a replacement for, it's an alternative to Lightroom.
Ah, okay.
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 And I think a lot of people, we've gone past the days of when you used to go and buy the CD. You'd go and buy Photoshop, and
Yeah.
you'd buy it on a CD and all of that.
I
Um,
think you can still do it. I think I've seen, especially Lightroom. I think I've seen
can
Lightroom in a
you?
box that you
Yeah.
can buy.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Right. Okay. Well,
But I
I think
wouldn't.
I know that I spoke to, where we do, all the photography classes, that a lot of people are a little bit hesitant because they're, I'll say, have you tried Lightroom? That be a good program to learn. And it's always, yeah, but there's a cost to it. There's a monthly cost to it. What is a yearly cost to it? And people
Mm.
get put off by that. And I can understand that, because it's something you've got to learn, and they don't necessarily want to be paying for it. So,
Mm.
but there are alternatives, and there have always been alternatives as well. And this alternative that I've been looking at is called Darktable. And I said,
Okay.
I don't know when it was actually introduced, okay, but it is a free alternative to Lightroom for photographers, and it's a very, very good alternative as well, and um, it's I guess one of the things that I would say is, if you're a professional, if you're a professional and you use Lightroom sort of more or less every single day, then it's not really going to be for you. Okay, it's more really for people, I think, that are perhaps just learning. It could be great
Okay.
for, it could be great for students, I think, as to learn something. Okay,
Mm.
but it's an open source program. Open source means the source code is freely available for anyone to use, modify, and redistribute. Okay, so it is completely free.
It's a
So when
bit like Tumblr and things like that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So it's completely free. And, as I say, they call it a Lightroom alternative. It supports raw files, which is really good, because remember, a lot of people shoot
Mm.
raw files, and then they find they download the images, and they've got no program to actually open the raw files with. So you need something, which is good. Also, I think quite important, because some of the free editing programs in the past, have not been, they're not, this is a non-destructive editing software. And what I mean by that, it doesn't, what I mean is that it doesn't touch your original file. Okay, now I know in the past that there were free editing programs where if you change the image, you were actually changing your original image. Okay, and I think that was that put a lot of people off. So using the actual program, it feels a lot like Lightroom. Okay, and I think most programs now have sort of taken their influence from the Adobe design, that grey and black design. I think it gives a bit of familiarity. It makes people
Mm.
trust it just that little bit more. I think when you go into a new program that now doesn't look anything like the Adobe programs, you're always a little bit, oh, I don't quite know about this. So Adobe have
Mm.
really been very clever over the years with their design, because so many people have actually copied it.
Yeah.
Gen-
Yeah.
Generally, the layout is going to be familiar to Lightroom users. Everything is pretty much laid out pretty much the same. There's tiny little bits that are moved slightly, but when you actually look at it, you've got your menus on the left and on the right that look exactly the same. You've got your image obviously showing in the middle, and you've got all the exposure, contrast settings, and all the different modules, that you can actually work your way through. It's one thing is that I did actually, when I looked on YouTube, for a little bit of information, and I have to say that if you want to learn Darktable, some of the information that's out there, there's very limited information that's out there. And if you want to learn to do something in Lightroom, you can look it up on YouTube, you know. But with Darktable, there's you know, that it is a little bit limited. And for somebody that's new to it, it's very easy to jump into an editing software, and what you just start doing is you do this weird and wacky, wonderful things, but you miss the basics of how to import images correctly, how to correct images correctly, how to export images correctly. Okay, so it's very easy to miss those because you get taken in by all the effects and the presets and the weird and wonderful things that you can do.
How long is it? How long has it been around?
Well, see, I don't know how long it's been around.
Because I do wonder. I mean,
yeah.
I said Tumblr before. I actually meant Blender,
Right.
which is a 3D open source software. And I remember during COVID, as a friend of mine, he knows how to use it quite a lot, and he went through a few things with me. And there's loads of stuff on YouTube on how to use Blender.
Right.
Now, Blender, if you don't know, is a 3D sort of design drawing sort of thing. So you can a lot of games are used from it. I think you can do some 3D movies on it, and it's all created within Blender, and it's open source, so it's free to download. It's a massive program. It reminds me of the first time I opened Photoshop. You know, really big. So I was just wondering, because there's so many people sort of helping each other out in the Blender scene. I wondered, maybe it's just because Darktable hasn't been around that much. I mean, is there anything? I don't know. That's what I was thinking. And maybe the more people who are on it, the more people who are aware of it, the more stuff will go onto YouTube, because that stuff is invaluable.
It is. That's right. Yeah. But I'm not familiar with it, so it's difficult to sort of for me to comment on that as such. But
yeah.
But the main thing here is we're looking at. I mean, is Darktable, is it a serious alternative to Lightroom? Because, you know, it's free. Okay, so you've got nothing to lose. Okay, you could have a go. You know, if you're thinking about jumping in, you've not done any photo editing before. Well, let's be honest. You know, if you are at a point where you are looking to cut costs, and the monthly cost for Adobe is perhaps too expensive for you, then you could jump in to look at Darktable, and because there are some benefits. I mean, generally it has more tools. However, with more tools, it can be a little bit more confusing as well. So you have to actually learn that as well. I'm not sure about the AI stuff, because Adobe are really sort of breaking ground with what they're introducing with the AI stuff. And Darktable, I'm not sure where they're at with it. And obviously there's going to be a cost with all of that as well.
Well, just looking at it, I've just while you were talking there, Cam, I did have a quick look on my phone, and it says Darktable. The initial release was April 2009, but it then says stable release is 21st of December 2023. So I guess it's still in its sort of beginning stages, although technically it has been around since 2009. But
yeah,
you know, it's the first time I've really heard of it. So
yeah. Overall, I mean, you know, as I said, is it worth it? Yes, I think it is. If you haven't used an editing software program before and you want it, and you don't want to spend any money on it. I know Adobe do their free sort of 7-day trial or 30-day trial. I can't remember what it is and what it is now, because I've not sort of used it for such a long time like that. And great, you know, and I think Adobe, they are the leaders. You know, they're the ones that break new ground, and they're the ones that you should always sort of be referring to as well as top of the game. But here is an alternative. Darktable, free editing program software. Why not give it a go? Save yourself some money, learn something new as well, and who knows, you might be a convert. So personally for me, I'll be sticking with Lightroom, because people might be thinking, oh, well, what's he going to do? Is he changing? No, I'm not, because I'm quite invested into the Adobe system, because we use it for Premiere, we use it for Photoshop, we use it for Acrobat, Illustrator. So I'm invested into that. I'm already paying for that anyway. So this alternative isn't going to work for me, but for some people out there, yeah, give it a go. Okay, Darktable.
Very, very good. Well, yeah, it's probably worth the download. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should just check it out. But I'm the same, because I use Photoshop so much, and Lightroom is very connected with Photoshop. It just works for me. But then we've been doing this for a long time. We're kind of bit old in the tooth now, aren't we? So,
Yeah, that's right.
but
But
maybe, you
change,
know,
yeah, but change is
it
good. And I think,
change does happen, and you know,
mm,
watch this space. But yeah, I agree. Anyone who's learning it, anyone who, you know, students, and even if you're just beginning, you know, your photography business, then, you know, anything free will definitely help you out, because there's loads of other things you can spend your money on, basically. So yeah.